Hello and welcome to VCCTV. This is Joseph Rai. We have with us today Dr. Aman Iqbal, who is the founder of IQGEN Holdings, and he has just launched his maiden healthcare-focused fund, which will invest in India, some Asian countries, as well as in Dubai. Now, initially, the fund size was $25 million. However, the fund size has been extended to $75 million due to more demand from the LPs, and one of them being a sovereign wealth fund. We'll talk about that, as well as the fund strategy and other aspects of healthcare with him. A warm welcome to you, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Joe, and I appreciate being here, and thanks for organizing this. Before we move in, I wanted to just give you an overview of IQGEN as an organization. So we're an investment and an advisory organization, and I think we've been doing a lot of advisory work in the region, especially in India, working with venture capital firms and helping them in due diligence. Our team is made up of some really, veterans in the space who've built companies that have gone on and gone public. And so, with these folks on board, I think we bring forth a very strong mandate of creating an ecosystem of healthcare players, and everything from seed all the way to scale. And by scale, I mean really sort of creating the next Google or Apples of healthcare that can really have a major impact here in this region, and then eventually in the Western world as well.
And that is the reason for this healthcare-focused fund called Vantage. What are the opportunities that you see in India from your point of view in terms of the segments that you're going to explore?
Absolutely. No, it's a good point. So I'll do a segue from the advisory to the fund. So Vantage, the reason we went and raised this fund, it's evergreen. We don't have a mandate with our LPs that we have to do an X number of deals per year. So that takes a bit of stress off me personally and our team as well. But the reason for that really is that we're not here to write checks left, right, and center. We're looking for visionary entrepreneurs who really truly believe in the business and will stick with it through the tough times. And this is where we come in from the advisory side to hold their hands as well whenever needed, and help them sort of restructure their businesses, put capital into them, and so on. So although our mandate for Vantage is to sort of write checks anything between $1 to $10 million, and in companies ranging from, as I said, wearables to artificial intelligence and machine learning, which have become buzzwords, and this is where we come in to help some sector agnostic VCs to sort of start approaching us and understanding if they're looking at certain deals that they don't understand the technicalities of what the AI and ML space brings and what impact that venture can actually have, I think is really our sort of main mandate.
So you've already assessed some startups as well as you've talked to some of the entrepreneurs in India. What do you think of the quality of startups as well as entrepreneurs in India now?
They're brilliant people. I mean, honestly, I've had more than 20 meetings. I'm still straddling between North America and India until we fully establish ourselves in India. They're full of energy. They're young folks. They need guidance, very importantly. Many are open to it, some are not, and those are the ones that you can't do anything, but the quality of startups are good. Some of them we've helped them actually think about expanding the vision and then come back to us with, let's say, pitch number 2. And they're doing it. And I think, we are seeing many. We've been inundated with decks from all over the country and also the region since we made our mandate that we're not just focused on India, we're looking at Middle East and Thailand and Malaysia, but within India, I think these folks have a lot of firepower in them.
So Vantage will also invest in Malaysia and other Asian countries as well as in Dubai. Give us a sense of how these countries are different from India and what are the different strategies you're going to apply in these countries versus India?
Let me start with Middle East. So Middle East, as a lot of people know, has a lot of capital. It's been a financial hub. Countries like Bahrain and UAE and stuff. These folks are open. They've been looking for companies and technologies from the West, and things have gone well, things haven't gone well. So when they look at India and they see obviously a lot of exciting, raw brain power and companies that are doing pretty well here. So there's a very natural sort of next step for an Indian company to move into the Middle Eastern space where growth capital won't be a problem. So our links in that region will help our portfolio companies to sort of get more capital, whether it's 100 million, 200 million, a billion, whatever they're looking to raise. I think that's something that we're looking to do. And then over time, we'll be working with the governments, directly at the government level, to sort of create these ecosystems. And so with countries like Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, again, lots of young people out there, lots happening in the IoT space, for example, lots happening in the wearable space. Their primary healthcare models are also sort of very fragmented. So I think the problems remain the same. So if you can create a company, let's say, out of India, it can be scaled very naturally across these regions. And the governments will really sort of, benefit from, having whether it's a joint venture with a hospital, let's say in Malaysia, or another company that's trying to do something in that space. Whatever it is, but I think there's a lot of potential in the region. So,
and give us a sense of valuations between India and the other countries.
Valuation in terms of pre-money valuations. Yes. Yeah, I mean this one's a tricky one. I think what happens is that the moment you play the vision game, the vision expands, automatically the valuation goes up. It happens in the Silicon Valley as well, as we all know. I don't think the valuations, at least the companies we've come across in India, the ones who approached us, in fact, a couple of them, we actually told them to have a higher valuation because maybe they were talking to a lot of other VCs and they said, oh, we can't put a check in because we don't think you're worth that. But when you actually do the deeper dive, which is what we do, right? We go down into the depths of the technology and understand the vision and the firepower of the entrepreneur, how far they can go. I think valuation is sort of a little fluid, if I may put it that way, for us. And we win the fund as well. We want to keep we'll have a pro rata in every round. If you're backing a company, we want to be a lead investor in each of these companies. So even if there are foreign investors involved, like foreign VC funds that are seeing certain companies, which is happening. One of the companies we're looking at has a lot of major foreign VCs that are interested, but they're looking for a lead VC. So we're talking to them, I would say mid-stage talks. And the idea of being a lead investor is, again, like we don't want, again, I want to be very clear. We don't want to be seen as a firm that's like investor driven for an entrepreneur. We want to hold hands so that we help. As much as it's our money, we want return on investment, but we also see the entrepreneur as someone who has put in their blood, sweat, and tears. Having been an entrepreneur, I know it takes a lot of time, effort, and energy, and a lot of guts to get to that point.
So initially the fund size was $25 million when you first spoke, but that was extended to $75 million. Does this mean that the LPs are really bullish on the healthcare space in general?
Yeah, so I think what happened between that time frame was that, so I mean I prepared a report and of the sort of things I was seeing and the market activity in the space. And the LPs absolutely are bullish. I mean, healthcare is an evergreen industry. It's one of those areas that there's always going to be growth. And we're seeing growth from a technology point of view, which is super exciting because this whole, my personal mandate and the fund's mandate of the end goal of the human AI merger is going to happen, right? So, and it'll happen in steps. So I think it's about sort of really exciting LPs and wealth funds and pension funds and folks who have a ton of capital. Like, listen, you put a little bit more money in so we can actually support a lot more companies. And as I said, like, we increased our check size as well to 10 million, so sort of bordering at a private equity VC level. One major mandate is to seed start companies as well. So we saw gaps. We have seen gaps in the Indian healthcare market, areas where we see that nothing exists. So there's a potential for creating a unicorn, and this is where I think, our advisory arm will also come in, bring in some, we have a C-suite, which is where we're approaching sector agnostic corporates that have mid-level managers to train them into C-level executives, because we see leadership as sort of the bottleneck for success.
Right. So also when a fund is launched, there's a lot of excitement around investments, but talks around exits are pretty subdued. What is the assessment of the exit environment in India right now?
I mean, exits, sector agnostic, obviously there's a lot happening in the financial services industry, but healthcare, I think, there are three types of exits we're looking at. So one is acquisition by the GEs and stuff, or massive hospital chains. There's a lot of consolidation happening, as we all know. These companies are becoming bigger and bigger, and they would want, and as the industry is moving towards high-end technology, I think we see some of our portfolio companies being absorbed by some of these giants, and that's a fairly decent exit, because you can justify a valuation of a company that's, let's say, has done the holy grail of primary healthcare, which is the full end-to-end consolidation of, monitoring real-time health data of a patient. That's of huge value to any major healthcare company, whether it's a hospital chain or if it's, one of these GE sort of companies. And the third is IPO, right? I mean, I think big IPOs for healthcare can happen. I mean, if you can show profitability, you can show stability leading up to the IPO. I think it's all possible. I think it all comes down to the mindset. I feel it's leadership primarily. It's creativity. It's about the vision. It's not about just getting stuck to what you're doing. And as I said, like we are looking to work with companies that are already listed, right? So many are stuck in terms of a conventional plan that they're following. So could we do something creative around there? Could we create like a special purpose vehicle, for example, which will hold enormous IP? And as you know, like an IP of a drug can value a company just by itself north of 100 million. So if you have 5 or 6 of these, you're talking about a $600 million new company, which is just managed by a few employees, fully owned, and the investor owned by the public company. So it's possible, and I think it's just a matter of time. And I think I'm positive, and I have to be.
And you also have plans to launch an accelerator and looking for an investor. Give us a glimpse into what this accelerator will look like.
Absolutely, yeah. So when we talk about creating an ecosystem, where does it start from? It starts from really I would say, the seed stage. A tree becomes big from, you plant a seed and it becomes into a tree. So a bunch of us from the Valley and our CEO, who sits in Singapore, co-founded this biotech accelerator called BIOTECH. And BIOTECH currently is looking for a $5 million funding to start their first batch of 10 companies. And this could be anything from an ideation stage to proof of concept. We lean more towards proof of concept because there's lesser risk. But looking to put in about $200,000 into these companies. And then you're creating this really amazing platform for all these VCs in India to come and pick companies to invest in, right? I mean, it's what happens after $200,000 investment. It's probably your next seed or your pre-Series A. And it's a foundry as well. So that means we're also inviting folks to come and form companies. So the part of the operational team will have folks who will be running the foundry and then running the actual accelerator. So we have been talking to a lot of VCs. It's the call is out. Anybody who's interested, I mean, I can just tell you that it is going to happen, and it's $5 million right now for 2 years, and then we're going to be looking at a $50 million raise, and so on. I think it's a great opportunity for VCs in India, VCs that are not investing in healthcare, to come up and put, be a part of this 5 million round. So we're looking at it as well, although it's not a part of our mandate, but we will be putting in capital as well into this accelerator. So let's hope for the best, and I hope that some of the investors would be on board with this.
It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.